We shall start with revenge.
This video will contain major spoilers for The Mandalorian and Grogu. One of the most overlooked freighters in Star Wars is the humble Terrapin-class from the Clone Wars, but fortunately this ship got a bit more attention in The Mandalorian and Grogu. Today, let's take a look at what little we know about the design, specifications, and history of this silly ship. I am Joey from Radio Free Coruscant, and this is the Turtle Tanker. Design. The Corellia Mining Corporation TR-RL3 Terrapin-class bulk tanker, also known as the Goji-DF, or colloquially the Turtle Tanker, was a small industrial freighter capable of carrying a wide variety of both liquid and solid cargo at the same time. Its main hull was shaped roughly like a turtle, hence the name, and the shell section could be removed and swapped out with different modules for hauling different cargoes. One version of the cargo module was very tall and angular, perhaps for hauling raw ores or other aggregates, and another one was flatter and rounder, and split into two prongs at the front. This would probably be a better tanker module, but could be a general cargo module instead as well. The ship's main engines were embedded in its landing gear, giving it its quadrupedal appearance and providing additional power when taking off and landing, as well as facilitating landings on uneven terrain in places without formal docking facilities. It may have also been able to walk around on the ground to reposition itself for loading and unloading procedures. Between its front legs was its cockpit module, which doubled as an escape pod and could be ejected in case of emergency. The body of the ship also had a secondary command console to pilot the ship in case the cockpit were ejected or destroyed. In universe, nothing is known about the designers of the Terrapin class, but in real life it was designed by Clone Wars concept artist Will Nichols. Specifications. The Terrapin class measured 38.2 meters long by about 28 meters wide and up to 26 meters tall, depending on the cargo module equipped. It had a top atmospheric speed of 750 kilometers per hour and an unknown hyperdrive rating, probably a Class 3. The ship appeared to be armed with a dual laser cannon, though this isn't mentioned in any official materials. It required a crew of only one and had no official passenger capacity, but could easily carry a few. Unfortunately, its cargo capacity is unknown as well, and would likely depend on which cargo module was installed. The larger module seen in the Clone Wars could probably hold at least 500 tons of cargo, and the smaller one from the Mandalorian movie might be more like 200 tons. Finally, the ship had a price of 350,000 credits. History. Very little is known of the Terrapin's backstory. The ship was in widespread use at least as early as 21 BBY, when Savage Opress hijacked one on the planet Stobar to search for his brother Maul. He forced its owner to take him to the junkyard planet Lotho Minor to search for Maul, and when he was briefly unable to find him, Savage pushed the pilot out of the airlock in a fit of rage and stole the ship for himself. After finally locating Maul, the two brothers used the ship as their personal transport for a short time before the captured Obi-Wan Kenobi and stowaway Asajj Ventress escaped in the ship's ejectable cockpit. While Maul and Savage were able to pilot the ship to safety from its internal control panel, they were no longer able to use the ship properly and replaced it with something else. Many years later, around 11 ABY, a droid weapon smuggler operated a Terrapin class for their gun-running operation. Bounty hunter Din Djarin hired this pilot to smuggle Rada the Hutt out of the clutches of the Hutt cartel, but unfortunately the ship was spotted leaving by another bounty hunter hired by the Hutts. While the exact sequence of events that followed is unknown, it would seem that Embo reported the ship to the Hutts, and they sent another agent to escort the ship to Nal Hutta, where it could be shot down into the swamp and Rada abducted from the wreckage. This may have even been done by Embo himself. The timeline on this segment of the film isn't entirely clear, and he might have had time to go do it himself before coming back to Navarro for Din. Fortunately, though, while the droid pilot of that Terrapin may have been killed, the ship itself was quite durable, and the swamp it crashed into was rather soft. Thus, the ship was more or less intact when Grogu discovered it a few days later. Din and Grogu then took some supplies from the ship, and then flew it back to the cartel headquarters, before being shot down by the Hutt's droid guards and crashing straight into the Hutt twins' palace. The ship was then obliterated shortly thereafter in the New Republic attack on the facility. These two incidents are the only times the Terrapin-class has ever been featured in any Star Wars story, but I'm sure hundreds, if not thousands, of the ship were used for decades before and after them, hauling supplies, refuse, fuel, and more all across the galaxy. And that's everything there is to know about the Turtle Tanker. Please let me know what you thought of this ship, and what other ships you'd like to see covered in the future. I'd also like to know if you prefer the animated or the live-action version of the ship. I think the live-action version looks a lot better, but the original has its charm too. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you next week. RFC, out.